Hello, viewers. Welcome on Moneycontrol. UCO Bank has recently completed its 80 years of journey. To talk more on this, also, we have seen lots of banking crisis in the West, how it will impact the Indian banking system. We have very special guest today, UCO Bank MD and CEO Soma Sankara Prasad sir. Welcome, sir, on Moneycontrol.
Thank you.
From the West, we have seen Silicon Valley Bank collapse. So, how do you see such crisis will impact India? Do you think any impact on India's banking system health? Also, specifically on UCO Bank. So, what will be your opinion on this?
If you look specifically at Silicon Valley Bank, most of the Indian banks, as far as I know, do not have any exposure on the Silicon Valley Bank. So, to that extent, I don't think there will be any impact of the Silicon Valley Bank going down. But I think the circumstances of the Silicon Valley, under which the Silicon Valley Bank went down, are
Yeah,
something which are unique to that bank because their depositors base was highly concentrated
yeah,
and mostly consisting of startups.
yeah,
And they had since the because of the easy liquidity policy during COVID, most of the startups had got huge amounts of money, which they had actually put in as deposits with say with that particular bank. And of course, since there were no lending opportunities, they had put that money in U.S. Treasury, and subsequently, when the interest rate started going up, they had to take a huge mark-to-market hit, because of which, they had to, the bank collapsed because the mark-to-market was so slightly more than even the equity of the bank.
yeah.
But I think I don't think that will have any impact on the Indian banks because typically, if you look at the Indian banks, we depend to the extent of 90 to 95% on retail deposits,
Hmm.
which are these are all small depositors who are
Yeah,
spread
yeah,
all over the country. The depositors, the base is very varied deposit base. We don't depend on bulk deposits. And at the same time, for most of the banks, retail loans comprise almost 60% of their loan portfolio. And the amount
yeah.
of money that we put in GSEC is also quite limited. I mean, though we have our SLR and all that. So I think, and most of it, if it is the AFS portfolio, we already provide for it in our, we already provide for the any negative mark to market in the P&L account if it comes to the AFS portfolio. So to
Yeah.
that extent, I think I don't see any impact on Indian banks as far as what is
So
happening in
can we
outside.
say that Indian public sector bank is in safe position right now?
Yes, yes, of course. There's
Yeah.
no doubt
Also,
about
sir,
it.
recently, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharamanji took a review meeting with public sector bank MD and CEOs. So, what kind of assurance which she get from public sector banks? Can you put some light on that too, if possible?
See, typically these reviews happen every 3, 4 months
Yeah.
because, as you all know, Government of India holds a majority equity stake in most of the banks. So
Hmm.
the Finance Ministry does take a review of the performance of the bank, wherein all the parameters are discussed.
Yeah.
We look at the capital adequacy, we look at the way the banks are doing, we look at the way the financial inclusion schemes are being implemented by the Government of India. So it
Hmm.
is in that context that the review was held. So it's a
Yeah.
routine review which happens every quarter.
Okay. So recently, in the Supreme Court ruling on a borrowers having the right to be heard before banks classify their accounts as a fraud, Supreme Court ruled out. So,
Mhm.
what's your take on this? How do you see this thing?
See, what happens is when it comes to declaring a person as a willful defaulter,
Yeah.
we actually follow a process of giving a chance to the borrower to come and make a representation. We listen to him and then we declare him as a willful defaulter. This doesn't happen in the case of frauds, where the
Yeah.
banks take a decision to declare a particular account as a fraud. So the Supreme Court is of the opinion that it goes against the principles of natural justice, where we declare the account as a fraud without giving an opportunity to the borrower to present his side of the case.
Hmm.
So they said that the borrower should be given an opportunity now. So I don't see any major impact except for the fact that I mean, the timeline that is required before we declare the account as a
Yeah.
fraud, the timeline will increase because we also need to give a notice to the borrower, and we need to also hear out his side of the story before we take a decision to declare the account as a fraud. I
Yeah.
think I mean, it is in accordance with the principles of natural justice. But only thing is that maybe we require some more time before we declare the account as a fraud,
Okay.
so that we go through this process.
Yeah. So, sir, after this bank crisis, now there is lots of talk of the town about the deposit insurance coverage. In India, we have Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation, which insures our fixed deposit, current and recurring deposits. That the maximum amount is up to 5 lakhs. Do you think this 5 lakh limit is adequate, or it should be extended? What's your take on this?
See, I think this limit was made 5 lakhs quite recently, maybe in about 1 2 years back or
Yeah.
3 years. Okay, and deposits, as you said, are insured to the extent of 5 lakhs. But I think this 5 lakhs limit is for each bank,
Hmm.
in the sense that it is not a 5 lakh limit for the money put in all the banks. I mean, you don't take the overall, I mean, whatever he has put in different banks.
Hmm.
Per bank, it is 5 lakhs. So
Yeah.
I think, I mean, see, if you look at the bank deposit, typically at the deposit profile of the Indian banks, most of the small depositors are having deposits of 5 lakhs and below. So I think it is quite adequate, and it is a limit which is subject to review every few years depending on the value of the money and the inflation, and that is being looked into. And typically, if you look at the Indian banking scenario, I don't think we have the kind of an issue which is there in the West, that it is quite normal for the banks to fail there. So it doesn't happen in India. In fact, so far, if you look at the last 10 years or 15 years, there
Hmm.
has not been a single case where a bank has been allowed to fail.
Yeah.
So if you look at it in that context, I think 5 lakhs is quite adequate.
Okay. So, like in the last quarter, UCO Bank was profitable. And
Yes.
what's your target to achieve a net profit this fiscal year?
See, at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
we have set for ourselves a target of 1,500 crores, which was quite an ambitious target because we made a profit of 938 crores last year. So
Yeah.
this 1,500 crores was almost a 60% increase on the 938 crores profit that we have made last year. So if you
Yeah.
look at the profit that we have achieved up to December, we have already achieved about 1,281 crores. So looking at the run rate, I think we are confident of, I mean, achieving whatever target we have set for ourselves of 1,500 crores.
Yeah. In the last few weeks, we have seen that banks are increasing fixed deposits rates to attract customers among intense competition. So, is it helping banks to improve their deposit base?
Hey, definitely. See, what has happened is, like, if you look at it,
Yeah.
what is happening is, like, I think if you look at the recent finance bill, where they have brought the tax treatment of debt mutual funds on par with the bank deposits.
Yeah.
So that is a big plus for the banks, and we are expecting that a lot of money which
Yeah.
was earlier put by the HNI customers and debt mutual funds would come to the banks.
Yeah.
So what we'll have to understand is,
Yeah.
when the interest rates were being raised, I think starting with May 2022, when
Yeah.
RBI started raising the repo rate, there
Mhm.
was plenty of liquidity which was there in the system. That
Yeah.
is primarily because during the COVID time, there was a large inflow of deposits, and there were very few opportunities available for the banks to lend. So this led to the building up of liquidity in the banking system. So when
Yeah.
RBI started raising rates, and at the same time as the country started coming out of COVID, and the loan demand started going up,
Yeah.
banks still had plenty of liquidity, so there was no necessity for the banks to raise interest rates on deposits at that point of time.
Yeah.
But as the loan growth continued to outstrip the deposit growth, the loans, especially if you look at the banking system,
Yeah.
the loans were growing at 20% and the deposits were growing at 10%. So there was a mismatch between the growth in the loan portfolio and the deposit portfolio. So when the
Okay.
liquidity conditions became a little tight, now banks
Yeah.
had to go back to the depositors for the purpose of raising deposits. So I
Okay.
think so. In the meantime, the repo rate has also gone up, and the interest rates on advances
Yeah.
have also gone up as
Yeah.
the repo rate has gone up. So we
Yeah.
started. So the bank started increasing the deposit rates to attract more funds from the depositors. And I think now, if you look at the inflation, which is around 5.6%, less than 6%, unless you take out the impact of cereals and milk.
Hmm.
What the banks are offering is around 7.5% to 8%, which means that the depositor is getting a real return on the deposits. That is,
Okay.
inflation is 5.6%, the deposit rate is around 8% to 7.5%.
Yeah.
So I
So, sir,
think, yeah.
yeah, please continue. Yeah.
No, no, no. What I'm trying to tell you is that depositors are bound to come back to the bank because the banks are giving a real return. They are getting a
Okay.
real return on their deposits.
Yeah. So, sir, your last day with UCO Bank is on May 31st, 2023.
Yeah.
So, in what role you will be seen in future? What's your future plan? So, can you, if you can put some light on that too? Yeah.
To tell you very frankly, even I don't know right now what
Okay.
sort of role I'll be able to play. But
Okay.
I've had a very long innings in the bank, in
Yeah.
the sense, that I was in State Bank of India earlier and now I'm here. So I would be almost I'm completing about 38 years in banking. So
Okay.
which is a pretty long period. So let us see what the future has in store for me.
So, can we expect that in future you will be all like seen in board member of any major public sector bank?
No, I don't really know, but then let us see what happens in the future happens. So
So
I
nowadays,
don't.
any holiday plan or something like you'll
No,
enjoy?
I don't know. There are. I don't have any plans as such for the
Okay,
future.
okay, sir. So now I'm coming to another major issue of bankers only.
Mhm.
Recently, UK Bank has announced a partnership with Aditya Villa Health Insurance,
Yeah,
the health for the distribution of health insurance products through
yeah.
banks. So recently, we did a story on Money Control where the bankers said that we are pressurized to sell insurance product, due to which they are saying there some of colleagues, they alleged that thing, some of their colleagues are doing suicides as well. They are in under pressure. So is banks are doing something to check all these things or not, or what kind of step UCO Bank is taking to counter these things? Are you
See,
familiar with these
yeah.
incidents? Yeah.
No, no. Actually, we have not had any such instances in our bank.
Yeah.
Because see, nowadays, what we have to understand is that a customer has got several requirements,
Hmm.
uh, and uh, uh, and it is in the interest of the bank that we should be able to take care of most of his requirements, right? After COVID, for instance, everybody has realized the importance of health insurance. Everybody wants to say take some health insurance policy or the other, some life insurance policy or the other. Some most of the customers would want a credit card. So
Hmm.
these are all products that we are offering through our partnership with various insurance companies and credit card firms. We are
Hmm.
basically catering to the requirements of our customers. In case I don't offer them to my customers, he will take it from somebody else. So
Yeah.
there's no question of putting pressure on the staff to sell a particular product, because see, again, we believe in ensuring, customer appropriateness while offering the product to the customer, and we believe that it should be done ethically. We should take care to ensure that there is no mis-selling and we don't sell a product which is not appropriate for a particular customer. So we are very particular as far as these things are concerned. And there is, hardly any mis-selling complaints when
Hmm.
it comes to selling all these policies. So we are quite clear about it that we will try to offer to the customer what he wants. So I mean, if you look at it from that point of view, I don't think there is any pressure on the staff to sell any particular product. But then, as I said, that the customer stickiness improves if you offer more and more products to the customer. And I think it is a fact that if you look at the number of products which are being sold to a customer, the private sector banks are able to sell 4 to 5 products to a customer, whereas in the case of public sector banks, I think the average is only two. So I think it is in the fitness of things that we should try to offer more and more products to our customers. But when we offer these products to our customers, we look at it only from his point of view and try to meet his requirements so that the
Okay.
customer stickiness improves.
So, and the last question would be, sir, for your next chairman, MD and CEO Ashwani Kumar ji, what kind of expectations do you have from him uh, for the future of UCO Bank? Yeah.
And rather than having any expectations, what I can say is
Yeah.
now the bank actually is in a very good shape compared to what it was earlier when it was in PCA and it just come out of PCA. And all the health parameters of the bank are very, very good. Our gross NPA has come down to 5.63% as at the end of December, and we expect it to further come down in the month of March. Net NPA is around 1.66%. Capital adequacy in December was 14.32%. We have raised 500 crores of Tier 1 capital in the month of March, plus the profit will get added back to the capital after the March audit. So I think the capital adequacy would be around 16.32. And as you say, as you know, the profitability has been good.
Yeah.
The business growth has also been above the industry average because we have grown by more than 22% on the advances side and about 12% on the deposit side. So, and we have opened 200 new branches in this financial year. Recently, the Honorable President of India was the chief guest at the function that we organized celebrating our 80 years about a few days back, where she has also virtually inaugurated 50 new branches of the UCO Bank. So, I mean, taking into account all this, I mean, the bank is in a very good shape. It is poised for further growth, and I'm sure that Mr. Ashwini Kumar will take the bank to greater heights in the days to come.
Now, sir, last one more question. So on Adani, how can I like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
please.
sir, what kind of exposure UCO Bank had with the Adanis, and will you land Adani in future?
Yeah. So if you look at our, for instance, of our loan portfolio,
Yeah.
if I take a loan portfolio of 1,50,000 crores, my exposure to Adani Group is less than 1,100 crores. That is less than 1% of my total advances. And all these loans have been given to infrastructure projects, which have already been completed and which are generating good cash flows, and there are real solid assets which are there on the ground,
Yeah.
and we are getting our repayments regularly. So there is no worry as far as those exposures are concerned. So when it comes to new lending to the group, I'm
Yeah.
sure that as in like any other banker, I would look at the project from the viability point of view. Well, how
Okay.
viable the project is, whether all the tie-ups are in place, whether the debt and the equity has been tied up, what kind of demand is there for that particular product. And when everything is fine, I mean, there's no reason why it's a commercially viable proposition. There's
Yeah.
no reason why we should not be lending to the group.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for giving us the time to Money Control.